Hello and welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Basketball Podcast brought to you by DraftKings Pick6. I am Mike Barner. He is Kirien Sprecher, and we come to you every Wednesday to give you the information that you need to win your fantasy basketball leagues. Kirien, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Let's get into it.
Yeah, so we got some news. We're going to start off with some news and notes. Then we're going to talk about the fantasy projections for some centers moving forward. We also are probably going to have some time for some questions in today's episode. So if you're in the chat here, throw us some questions and we'll try to get to some of those later. So first, it wouldn't be a basketball or fantasy basketball podcast if we didn't start out by talking about injuries. Tuesday, Kevin Durant sprained his left ankle against the Spurs, was unable to return to the game. He is expected to undergo imaging today and be reevaluated. That further complicates things for the Kings because Jusuf Nurkic did not play Tuesday. He is going to be reevaluated in 1 week. He has a right thigh contusion. Boost for Devin Booker and Bradley Beal coming here with Durant possibly set to miss a few games, Kirien?
Yeah, I think that's the easy option here to go. Obviously, I've been waiting for a Grayson Allen resurgence this year. Obviously, he had the big year last year, and there's been plenty of injuries in Phoenix, which would give him the opportunity to do so, and he just hasn't really captured that. So I don't really expect that to change. Josh Okogie has been out of the rotation recently. Maybe he can get back into the rotation. Ryan Dunn, all of these guys have clear weaknesses in fantasy, so there's really no one that you want to pick up off the waiver wire. So I think the easy answer here is, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal are going to get boosts while KD's out. And given KD's injury history, I know it seems like a minor ankle, but he's probably going to be sidelined for at least a week here.
Yeah, it's tough. You never like to hear ankle injuries with Durant. The Suns they start to get healthy, and then one of those guys goes down, whether it be Durant or Beal. It's probably something that we're going to see with them throughout the season. Now, the Cleveland Cavaliers, Darius Garland suffered a head injury Tuesday against the Wizards. He did not return to the game. They were blowing out the Wizards. Maybe that had something to do with it. Garland is shooting 49.2% from the field this season. He has just missed one game. If he misses time, more ball handling responsibilities for Donovan Mitchell. Anybody you'd be excited to add if maybe he gets diagnosed with a concussion and he's going to miss a few games?
Yeah, I think a concussion, it may be likely. He did run into Jonas Valanciunas. That is a very large man. So we'll see what happens. We'll probably get an update later today about that. Garland gets hurt, and the guys that you look immediately to are Caris LeVert and Sam Merrill to step up. But the Cavs also got Dean Wade back, and he played 20 minutes last night. And while LeVert and Merrill stuck in their 20 to 25 minute roles. So I don't really think that Merrill or LeVert are going to get huge boosts with Garland out, and Garland would probably only miss a game or two anyways. Notably, Isaac Okoro played a season high 30 minutes, so that might be a guy to look at in the short term. But like you said, similar to Phoenix situation, I think Mitchell probably just gets more usage here. I'd also like to see them try to run the offense through Evan Mobley. I know the Cavs are doing really well with how they're playing currently, but I like Mobley, and I think that when he runs that point forward situation, he can be fantasy gold. So we'll see, probably just boost for Mobley and Mitchell here in the short term.
Yeah, I'd feel good about picking up LeVert if you're in a daily lineup league.
Yeah.
And you might get a couple games out of him if Garland misses some time. But like you said, nobody here you're throwing major fab bucks on or anything like that. So another guard that went down last night, Jalen Green had an eye injury against the Kings. Now, he did play 34 minutes in the game. He had 28 points, 7 rebounds, and 3 assists. But I guess he said he had some impaired vision while he was out there after he took that hit to the eye. The Rockets' next game is Thursday against the Warriors. So he does have today off. Just worth mentioning here, but probably nothing to worry about with Green, right, Kirien?
Yeah, probably nothing to be worried about. We'll, probably an update will come today. We'll see what happens there. And then, the injury report for tomorrow will come out. So we'll have even more information to go on. If he does miss any time, if Green misses any time, daily lineup leagues, you're looking at Amon Thompson, maybe Reed Shepherd. The rookie's been eased slowly into his NBA tenure. I know he was a huge fantasy target pre-draft. Or preseason in draft season type of thing, but nothing that the Rockets are doing or showing me that like he's ready for 30 minutes, even if Green misses a game or two. I think daily lineups, I'm looking at Amen Thompson here, but I'm not expecting a week-long absence for Green, but he may miss a game or two.
From one Green to another. No, they're not related. Draymond Green missed his first game of the season Tuesday against the Nuggets. He had a calf injury, not exactly thriving in any one particular department, but Green has averaged 8.8 points, 6.3 rebounds, 5.9 assists, and 1.5 3-pointers this season. So he has had some fantasy value. Kevon Looney started yesterday. He played 25 minutes, 5 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, and a block. You like to see that. That might be a case of the Warriors are looking to go big in a matchup against Nikola Jokic. Jonathan Kuminga also started yesterday. 19 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists in 29 minutes. The move here that looks to be coming, Trace Jackson-Davis has come off the bench in 2 of the last 3 games for the Warriors. Their depth has been depleted a little bit because of injuries, but we're still seeing some lineup changes here, Kirien, for the Warriors.
Yeah, I think that Kevon Looney thing was obviously the biggest season high minutes total there. Trace Jackson-Davis played more than 20 minutes for the first time in 4 games after he had been playing pretty heavy minutes to start the season. He kind of fell out of the rotation. Golden State continues to be a nightmare for fantasy managers. I have Kuminga rostered in a lot of leagues, and I've been waiting for a breakout performance. That doesn't seem to be on the horizon. The only guys that played 30-plus minutes last night for the Warriors, even with Draymond out, were Steph and Andrew Wiggins. I think that's like the extent of 10, 12-man leagues. If you're playing in those, you don't really want anything else. Or you can't really look at anybody playing 20 minutes on the Warriors every other night. Like Buddy Hield, I want to say, oh, Buddy Hield's the guy that's going to step up. But these are like DFS plays. Like you put Buddy Hield in your DFS lineup, you hope he blows up. You can't trust any of these guys in season-long settings right now, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, I think Kevon Looney is interesting if you're in like a 14-team or deeper league and you need rebounds.
Yeah.
Because even in limited minutes, he is giving you some rebounds. But exactly like you said, 10 and 12-team leagues, the Warriors are kind of frustrating right now.
And I guess the last thing, we're talking bigs right now with Draymond out, but, Draymond does handle the ball a lot. So there are ball handling opportunities. And Podziemski had played 30-plus minutes in the 2 previous games, and he only played 25 minutes last night. And then Steve Kerr was talking after the game about how he's making bad decisions with the ball. So, it's just difficult to hunker down and find any value in these in this deep rotation right now in Golden State.
Well, one team that does not have a deep rotation because they don't have much talent is the Washington Wizards, and things are not good for them right now. Kyle Kuzma missed his 2nd straight game Tuesday with a rib injury. Malcolm Brogdon also left that game with right knee soreness. You do not like to hear knee injuries with Brogdon. He has a history of those. What are we making here of Kyle Kuzma, Malcolm Brogdon, and the fallout from their injuries?
Whether it's a rib injury or some other injury for Kuzma, I don't expect Kuzma to be playing many more games in a Wizards uniform. The funny gif or whatever you want to call it, the future is now, old man. The Wizards aren't going to be good either way. If Kuzma's in the lineup, they're still probably not going to win 25 games. With Kuzma out of the lineup, they might not win 15 games. But that's not a big difference. The only difference there is whether you get Cooper Flagg or not. So you probably want to be on the bad end of that situation right now. I think the Wizards fully want to prioritize Coulibaly, Sarr, Keyshawn George, Bud Carrington. Kuzma will probably play a few games occasionally here and there to boost his trade value, but I don't think that will be enough for fantasy relevant production in standard season-long settings. Carrington, with Brogdon out, played 36 minutes. That's definitely a guy that I want to turn to. This was a blowout loss, so that gets added into it too. Corey Kispert only played 9 minutes, so I feel like that'll probably even out as time goes on. But I like targeting these youngsters in Washington and see if you can find any gold. They all do have major flaws right now, so I'm not saying that they're must-adds or that they'll save your fantasy season. But there is a chance that they could explode occasionally every now and then.
Yeah, if you have a roster spot to play with, I do like adding Carrington because 2 reasons. A, Brogdon's always hurt. And B, when he is, if the Wizards can get him healthy, they'd probably love to trade him. So I think by the time February passes, Brogdon will either be A, sitting on the bench because he's hurt all the time, or B, be on a different team. So if you do, it's tough that most fantasy managers do not have an extra roster spot right now.
Yeah,
because of a lot of injuries.
That is a very good point.
Yeah, but if you do, he is someone there. Like the thing with Kuzma is, even when he has been playing, he's only averaging 28 minutes a game this season. The Wizards are getting blown out so much. He's shooting 42% from the field. That's on pace to be the lowest mark of his career. His scoring's down. He's averaging just 1.9 assists a game. That was an area that he'd been helping on since he was with the Wizards. We were talking a little bit before the show. I'm in a 10-team points league, and I have Kuzma on an injured spot right now. When he comes back, I don't know. I don't really have someone that I feel worse about than him. I might just drop him. If you're in a 10-team league, that's not a bad strategy. I'd certainly, when he comes back, if you have him, I'd shop him like crazy and see if you can get another fantasy manager to pay for past performance rather than his current performance.
Totally agree. We got a question from Eddie Buzz asking about Kuzma and Brogdon, like we were talking about. I think I don't really have any ideas where these guys are going to get traded to. Kuzma could be like an option in like Miami, just because Jimmy Butler can't stay healthy and they can't really score points if Tyler Hero isn't scoring 40. Brogdon, any contender could use a backup guard like Brogdon. So I feel like it'll just be wherever the price is right.
Yeah, Kuzma. I don't think Kuzma's as difficult to figure out where he's going to be traded to as Zach LaVine is. It's hard to find a spot for Zach LaVine.
Yeah,
but it's not as hard to find a spot for Kuzma because he's a forward, and he can provide a little bit more, rebounding and that kind of thing. I think he's got a much better chance of being moved than Zach LaVine does. I guess this is kind of our Bulls minute. We'll do like a Bulls 10 seconds. But yeah, I think Kuzma does get traded finally. They were saying that the Mavericks were interested in him last year. They'd like to get. I don't see that. PJ Washington's been really good for them. I don't see that as a fit. It'll be interesting to see where Kuzma is, because man, his value probably can't get much lower than it is right now. At least if we can get him on a contending team, maybe we can get him to play more.
I could maybe, as you were talking through it, my brain was trying to go through teams. Maybe if Paolo doesn't come back anytime soon, the Magic kind of get desperate and they think that they can compete with Franz. That's probably a shot in the dark. I don't really see any contending team giving up major assets for a guy like Kuzma.
The Magics are going to look at Kyle Kuzma and they're going to say, he plays no defense. We don't want him. That's the end of that. Sorry, we've talked about a lot of bad injury news. Kirien, let's talk about some guys that came back or are close to coming back. Khris Middleton is participating in 5-on-5 scrimmages for the Bucks. He could return soon. They've won 7 straight games. Middleton's coming back. Things are looking up here for the Bucks, but Middleton is going to be brought along very, very slowly, right, Kirien?
Yeah, absolutely agree. I think he'll be on a minutes restriction for a while. He'll probably sit out at least one half of back-to-backs. I think really this news only impacts the guys that were streaming or, rostering guys like AJ Green, Andre Jackson, or Gary Trent. None of those guys are really like super standout performers. AJ Green has had a couple hot shooting nights. But I think Middleton's situation is a wait and see how many minutes he's playing. You don't want to waste all your fab dollars or waste a starting spot on him when he's only playing 20 minutes.
Klay Thompson made his return for the Mavericks Tuesday against the Grizzlies. He played 20 minutes, only scored 4 points. He's averaging 12.7 points per game this season, shooting just under 38% from the field. Really not providing fantasy managers with much other than 3-pointers, right, Kirien?
Yeah, it's not a good look for Thompson right now. I love the guy. He's averaging career lows across the board. Like you said, exclusively a 3-point specialist in real life and fantasy right now. When he was in Golden State, at least he was afforded some leeway to chuck up 25 shots every now and again. That isn't happening in Dallas with Luka and Kyrie healthy. Like we talked about earlier, Thompson is maybe a DFS play sometimes. Maybe he gets hot and hits 8 threes, but I just can't trust him in season-long settings right now.
Jeremy Sochan is back for the Spurs. He played Tuesday against the Sun, 22 minutes off the bench. He made every minute count, 14 points, 12 rebounds, a steal, and a block. Harrison Barnes played 24 minutes in that game. Keldon Johnson played 24 minutes in that game. Who do we think's impacted here, Kirien, by the return of Sochan? Stephon Castle, Champagnie? Who's going to take a hit here with Sochan coming back?
Dude, the Spurs are 11-10 right now. They're getting close to full strength. 11-10 isn't, world beaters by any mean. They're 10th in the West right now, but that would be good for 6th place in the East. So like this is a good team. Wemby hasn't really hit his full form yet. Sochan has been out. Devin Vassell looked really good last night. There's going to be difficult decisions that interim coach Mitch Johnson is going to need to make here with the roster. Harrison Barnes played his fewest minutes since November 6th last night. Sochan was limited. He played 22, but he looked really good, posted a double-double, missed 4 free throws. I expect him to be close to 30 minutes anytime soon. Champagnie still had his solid 25 minutes going forward. So I mean, I'm looking at Harrison Barnes and Champagnie. Like this starting lineup for the Spurs has been really efficient offensively and defensively. They're not world beaters by any means, but they're a good unit. But it's hard to ignore the talent of a potential starting lineup of Chris Paul, Stephon Castle, Vassell, Sochan, and Wemby, right? Like that ideally, when we were looking at the Spurs depth chart before the season, that would be their ideal starting lineup going into the season, right? I hope we see that soon. It may impact their winning now, but it may help them for the future. I think that is probably a week or two away from that starting lineup coming to fruition. But if you picked up Harrison Barnes, if you were trusting Harrison Barnes when he was on this hot streak, or Champagnie, I think that those days might be few and far between going forward.
Now, if you look out your window, that is not Bigfoot. That is Mark Williams. We had a Mark Williams sighting yesterday. He played for the first time in almost a year to the day. Played against the 76ers. 9 minutes off the bench, 4 points, 3 rebounds, and a block. Nick Richards started that game, exploded for 22 points, 14 rebounds over 30 minutes. What do we make of Mark Williams back on the floor in the NBA?
Yeah, first appearance in a year, like you said, only 9 minutes. Nick Richards had a really good game. Diabate was playing really well before that. I think best case scenario, this is going to be a platoon. And that, best case scenario for the Hornets, worst case scenario for fantasy managers. I think both of these guys, Richards and Mark Williams, are rosterable especially in deeper leagues. I just don't know if you can, one of them is going to separate from the other going forward, especially given their injury history.
Yeah, if you picked up Nick Richards when he first came back from an injury, definitely hold on to him. Mark Williams is going to be limited for a long time. I mean, we could be looking at 3 weeks of him playing, probably not even 20 minutes, maybe 15 to 20 minutes a game, somewhere in that range. So if you picked up Nick Richards, don't panic that Mark Williams made his debut yesterday. He's going to be limited for a while. And also remember, Grant Williams is lost for the season. Diabate is not someone that they're beholden to give him minutes to. So it's really going to be Richards and Mark Williams at center. Probably could both play somewhere around 25 minutes a night and have enough to have some value in fantasy leagues.
We're like a quarter of the way through the regular season, right? So in 2 1/4 seasons, Mark Williams has played 63 regular season games. Yeah. They're going to be so cautious with him, even if he looks fantastic. The Hornets will be cautious, especially with where they're at in the standings.
It's appropriate that we just discussed some centers on the Hornets because in a minute we are going to talk about 5 centers and what we expect from them for fantasy-wise for the rest of the season. But before we do that, let's hear a word from our good friends at DraftKings Pick6.
Here at RotoWire, we're proud to be partnered up with DraftKings Pick6 this NBA season. Think your team will score more than 100 points tonight? How about your favorite point guard making more than 4 3-pointers? Check out DraftKings Pick6, the newest way to play fantasy basketball and win cash with DraftKings. Here's how it works. All you got to do is pick 2 to 6 players of the same sport and choose if they'll have more or less of a given stat. So for hoops, we're talking points, assists, rebounds, etc. Lock in those picks, compete against opponents for your shot at huge cash prizes. Go download the new DraftKings Pick6 app right now and use our code ROTOPICK, ROTOPICK. That's code ROTOPICK for new Pick6 customers. Play $5, get $50 in Pick6 credits guaranteed. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. One per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 30 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
Thank you again to DraftKings Pick6 for sponsoring the RotoWire Fantasy Basketball Podcast. If you have been a consumer of RotoWire content for years, you may recall back in the day, I used to have a column called Centers of Attention. I used to love talking about big men in fantasy basketball. Well, the column is long gone, but let's bring back a little bit of center talk for today's segment on this RotoWire Fantasy Basketball Podcast. So first, let's talk about Kristaps Porzingis of the Celtics. He's averaging 19.3 points, 7.3 rebounds, 1.3 steals, and 2 3-pointers over 3 games since making his return from injury. What you really like to see, he played 32 minutes Sunday against the Cavaliers, but then he sat out for rest Monday against the Heat. Probably going to be doing that quite a bit for the rest of the season. What do you think about Kristaps Porzingis, Kirien? Is he someone that you're pumped to have back if he's on your team, or are you thinking now that he's back, it's time to trade him?
That's an interesting question. I think either way, it's good to have him on your roster right now. That 32 minutes against, a contending team, it was a really close game. And then the other thing that I want to point out is his first game, he was 1 for 6 from 3. His second game, he was 2 for 5 from 3. And his third game, he was 3 for 7 from 3. That kind of like steady progression shows that he's getting comfortable playing more minutes. Joe Mazzulla obviously wouldn't be playing him heavy minutes in December if he didn't think that he could handle it and there weren't long-term concerns. Obviously, the back-to-back sort of thing, he's probably going to continue to do that. The Celtics have a deep rotation, so they can get away with that. So I think I don't want to trade him quite yet because I feel like opposing managers are probably going to be like, oh, well, he's going to get hurt again or blah, 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 blah. So why not just ride this production while you can? The only player Tatum's kept playing. So the only players that haven't missed a game for the Celtics yet are Tatum and Peyton Pritchard. So like the Celtics are, I don't want to say like, think they're better than everyone and can just continue to rest guys or like monitor minor injuries. But I'm kind of saying that I think Porzingis will get some occasional time off, but I think there'll be other games to mitigate that where he is a number 2 or number 3 option when Jaylen Brown or, Derek White is sidelined. So I think I'm rolling with Kristaps for the foreseeable future.
I'm not panic trading him and selling him at a discount, but I'm certainly floating out offers. What I don't like about Porzingis is he hasn't played more than 66 games since his rookie season. So if you can find someone that's maybe desperate at center and you've been patiently holding on to Porzingis, now he's back, don't trade him at a discount. Yeah. But if you can find the right deal, I'd love trading him. I'm too nervous, Kirien. I'm too nervous about him staying healthy. One center who was hurt and is now healthy again as well is Isaiah Hartenstein of the Thunder. He's averaging 13.3 points, 12.3 rebounds, 4.2 assists, and 1.5 blocks across 6 games since making his return from injury. He had 5 double-doubles. What you like to see. He is averaging 30 minutes per game. Previously, his career high was 25 minutes per game, which is what he did last season with the Knicks. Chet Holmgren is probably out at least another month. Are we enjoying this Isaiah Hartenstein production, or are we trying to sell high on him right now, Kirien?
There's no reason to sell high on Hartenstein. Look, he was a top 50 player for most of last season when he finally got a significant role when Mitchell Robinson got hurt. Even when Chet comes back, I think a lineup of Jalen Williams at 3, Chet at 4, and Isaiah at 5 is totally reasonable, and it kind of puts that, kind of protects Chet a little bit defensively. Like you said, Hartenstein was a top fantasy producer last year, and he wasn't playing 30 plus minutes. Now he is playing 30 plus minutes. That should continue until Chet comes back. Maybe when Chet comes back, he's back to 27, 28. But this guy just stuffs the stat sheet. The only thing that you have to worry about is your free throw percentage sometimes. He gets plenty of assists. He moves the ball well. He makes layups. He makes dunks. Grabs a ton of rebounds, and his defensive stats are through the roof, especially playing on a really good defensive team now. I don't think you're really going to get major value back from him in a trade. Maybe if someone, is sending you DeJounte Murray for Isaiah Hartenstein, like, yeah, you probably want to take that deal just because Murray has a higher upside. But I think Hartenstein is locked into like at least a top 70 player for the next month, and probably a top 100 player for the rest of the season.
I completely agree with you. There is no reason to try and sell on Hartenstein. He's going to be great for at least the next month until Holmgren comes back. And then when Holmgren comes back, who's to say that Hartenstein can't average 8 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, and a block a game while shooting for a high percentage? That's a great guy to have on your fantasy squad. Not a flashy guy, but a great guy to have. Yes. So I'm 100% with you, Kirien. We are holding Isaiah Hartenstein, and we're enjoying the fun. Now, as good as Hartenstein has been this season, we can't say the same for Jalen Duren of the Detroit Pistons. He averaged 29 minutes a game last season, only averaging 24 minutes per game this season. That has resulted in him averaging 8.9 points and 9.4 rebounds per game. The good news is he is averaging 1.4 blocks. That's on pace to be the best mark of his career. He's averaging 2.5 assists. He's shooting 70.4% from the field. Is this a buy low opportunity for Duren, or are we going to be frustrated by him for the remainder of the season?
Yeah, I feel like you kind of have to be interested in a buy low option. Obviously, you don't want to sell your roster or sell your soul for Jalen Duren. He's taken a huge step back. His free throw percentage is the most alarming. Free throw in minutes, obviously the minutes tie into all of the points and rebounds dropping too. But he's hurting you in category leagues right now with his free throw percentage. I also have to say that the minutes are probably a little bit to do with him getting in foul trouble. He's committed at least 5 fouls in 6 games. He's committed at least 3 fouls in 14 games. So, a big man that can't stay out of foul trouble is not going to be able to play 30-plus minutes on a nightly basis. The Pistons have kind of been spunky, so I feel like, if they can stay in contention, not contention for winning a championship, but contention for the play-in tournament in the Eastern Conference, where, the Bulls continue to make the Eastern Conference play-in game, and we know how bad the Bulls have been the last couple of years. There's our second half of the Bulls minute.
There we go.
So, yeah, I think maybe if a guy is really trying to get rid of him, you're interested in trading for Duren here. But I don't like the way that things are trending right now for Duren in Detroit.
I think this might take an Isaiah Stewart injury for Duren to even come close to averaging the 29 minutes that he game did last season. You don't want to have to depend on an injury when you're trading for a guy for him to have value. I don't mind buying low on him, but you'd have to buy pretty low on him. You can't trade anyone that you're counting on right now, because if Isaiah Stewart stays healthy, the Pistons have enough depth. Tobias Harris also in the fold. They can do some smaller lineups, that kind of thing. So I'm okay with buying low on Duren, but don't trade anything that you're relying on right now to get him. Another frustrating young big man, Nic Claxton. He averaged 30 minutes per game both of the last 2 seasons. This season, 25 minutes a game. That has left him with averages of 8.7 points, 7.6 rebounds, and 1.3 blocks per game. It's not because the Nets are tanking, because the Nets have been pretty good. Why is Claxton playing less? Well, he first had a hamstring injury to begin the season. Recently, he's been dealing with a back issue. Maybe those are the reasons why he's played limited minutes. Is he going to be a flop this season, Kirien? Are we going to see him start playing 30 minutes when he's further removed from this back injury? What can we expect with Claxton?
I'm just, anytime we have to talk about the Nets, you got to start with the injuries. I don't even know if the GMs want this team to win, but they seem to be pulling out wins. Listen to this injury report right now. Ben Simmons, Dorian Finney-Smith, Cameron Johnson, Zaire Williams, Bojan Bogdanovic, Jalen Martin, Noah Clowney, Cam Thomas, and it was even longer a couple days ago. So, obviously we hope that Claxton gets back to 30 minutes eventually and he can get those blocks again. I really like Claxton as a player. I don't like what's happening in Brooklyn right now, even though they're a fun team to watch. Don't get me wrong. I like watching them, and I like Jalen Wilson stepping up. Tyrese Martin stepping up. There's fun things happening in Brooklyn, but I don't think the GMs or anyone in charge is happy about this. And I think they're going to, be pushing for resting, pushing for limited minutes, prioritizing these young guys getting minutes. If the Nets make the play-in tournament, I think it would be a huge failure for the organization. And Nic Claxton playing heavy minutes will help them win games. And I just don't think that that's the goal right now. Daron Sharp came back recently too. I've always talked about him as like a solid per minute production guy. So maybe he starts playing 15, 20 minutes and Claxton 6 in that role. I'm like Duren. I like the player. I just don't like the situation right now.
If I'm buying low between Duren and Claxton, I want Duren. Simply because the Pistons should be a more competitive team. The Nets might be using these injuries that Claxton has had, legitimate injuries, as kind of like a partial reason to play him limited minutes. If they then start to fall out of it, there's another reason for them to play him limited minutes. I think if you're buying low, if you can only buy low on one center, I would buy low on Duren over Claxton. What do you think about that, Kirien?
Yeah, I totally agree with that because I think the Pistons are a team that's trying to win. They made moves this offseason to win. They added Tobias Harris. They added Malik Beasley. They added Tim Hardaway to make Cade's life easier, to make Ivy's life easier, to make this a better team. It's kind of working so far, but I think that they can be better. Well, the Nets could certainly be a lot worse, and that'll probably come to fruition in the next month or so.
All right, our last big man to talk about, Onyeka Okongwu, played just 19 minutes against the Pelicans on Monday, still 12 points and 4 rebounds. He's averaging 11.1 points and 6.6 rebounds per game this season. Playing time's actually down 26 minutes a game last season, 24 this season. Are we still holding on to him? We are praying for that Clint Capella trade, Kirien. When is it going to happen?
For years, this has been the same situation. Okongwu starts the season hot, has a couple of good games, and then we're like, is this the year where he finally separates himself? And it just doesn't happen. I think it may be because Capella is just a really good, solid player. And there's no reason to move on from him. But I think it's the same situation that it's been for years now. Okongwu is going to have these games. He's going to entice fantasy managers. And it's not going to ever come ever. You're never going to get the production that you were dreaming for. So I think if you are holding on to him, I would try to trade him after a good game or two. I'm probably not trying to trade for him. I don't think Capella is going to be traded anytime soon. I don't really hear many trade rumors out of Atlanta at all right now. So yeah, I'm fading Okongwu and basically am everywhere I can.
Come on, Hawks, help us out. Trade Clint Capella. All right, now, Kirien, let's take two or three questions from the chat before we move on to everyone's favorite segment of all of the podcasting world.
All right, well, we got to give a shout out to Prince Fountain because he was here before the show even started. Should I drop Shaedon Sharpe or Trey Murphy to add Kyle Kuzma? I think if you were tuning in earlier in the show, you know our feelings about Kyle Kuzma. Trey Murphy has been ice cold, and the Pelicans are just horrible, one of the worst teams to watch. Maybe they'll get healthy and they'll get better. I'm a huge Shaedon Sharpe fan. I think he's the clear best option out of these three players. What say you?
I agree. Sharpe is the guy. He said it's a 10-team, 9-category league too. I would definitely Sharpe would be a no-brainer. I'm keeping him for sure. I'm okay with dropping Murphy for Kuzma simply because Kuzma at least has a chance to have a leading role while Murphy doesn't, unless he's going to have multiple guys get hurt again. But I don't think you can go wrong either way if you decide between Murphy and Kuzma. But Sharpe for sure, don't drop him.
12 teams points league. Should I trade Bane and Kobe White for Cade? Ooh, that's an interesting one. Cade is one of the top players in fantasy right now. Especially if you don't have to account for field goal percentage. But then Kobe White, that's probably his one big knock too. We're both Bulls fans here, so I think we both kind of like Kobe White. He's been one of the better, bigger or bright spots for the Bulls the last 2 years. This is interesting. I think I'm willing to pull the trigger just because I think Cade's 30-point triple-double value or potential on every given night is too hard to pass up here.
Yeah, I like the trade too. I think I would do it to get Cade. I guess the only caveat would be is if your overall depth isn't great. I mean, this is a 12-team league. It's not a 10-teamer. So if your overall depth isn't great, maybe you'd want to second guess it. I do think this is a buy low opportunity for Desmond Bane. He's been real bad, and I don't think he'll be that bad throughout the duration of the season. But if we're just looking at this from the context of the question, I would trade Bane and Kobe White for Cade Cunningham.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So another one talking about Kuzma and Sochan. I think we kind of hit on this earlier. I think we're both going with Sochan in this situation. Sohan.
Yeah, it looks like it said which two would we keep in head-to-head points? Avdia, Sochan, or Kuzma? Sochan would be the definite one, and I'd probably feel better about Avdia, to be honest. I mean, I know the Trailblazers are getting healthier, but man, Kuzma is just not good right now. And if he gets traded to a contender, it's not like he's going to have a clear path to the leading role that he has anyways right now on the Wizards. So I'd be okay with Avdia and Sochan, but that's close.
Yeah. Would you drop DeJounte Murray in a points league? No.
I want all the DeJounte Murray.
Yeah.
If anybody doesn't want DeJounte Murray on their team, send me I want him. If you're in my league, I want him. I want him. Especially in a points league. I want DeJounte Murray.
Agreed. Do not need to go much further. Let's do one more.
Yeah, one more.
Is Micic a hold? What kind of performance was that? The minutes just weren't there. I think if you asked any expert, they would have told you that was a very solid ad this season. This week, he was probably one of the top ads in every league that I was in. I don't think, we don't know what's going on in the front office. We don't know what's happening there. KJ Simpson played a career or season high in minutes. So it's just going to be weird to watch. Micic was really solid last season, which is why all of the experts and, all of the people that give advice were high on him having a role with Trey Mann and LaMelo out. What say you? I know we were talking about it before the show that you added him. Are you going to hold?
I'm holding him. I love Micic. I think that was just a game where he was cold and the Hornets went with the hot hand yesterday. But I would like to compliment Christian Rogers for that question. What kind of performance was that? That was almost like his what was that stat line of the week. That was perfect. So this is your opportunity to call your friends, call your family, get everybody gathered around here because your favorite segment's coming up. But first, let's talk about our good friends at Vivid Seats. Finally, the NBA is back and court is in session. And to start the season, Vivid Seats is offering fans $20 off their first $200 purchase. Nothing beats seeing your favorite team hooping it up in front of thousands of cheering fans. Every slam dunk, every fast break, and every buzzer beater of your favorite team live and in person. Because Vivid Seats is the only leading ticket company with a rewards program, you can earn perks on every purchase, like amazing deals and unrivaled annual rewards all season long. Plus, with a 100% buyer guarantee, you can be sure that your ticket will be as legit as your love for the game. Visit vividseats.com or download the app today and use promo code RotoWire for $20 off your first $200 purchase. That's promo code ROTOWIRE for $20 off your first minimum $200 ticket purchase. Download the app or visit vividseats.com. Vivid Seats, experience it live. And now it's time for the What Was That stat line of the week. Kirien, you're up first.
All right, I'm going positive today. On Sunday, Malik Monk made his first start since the 2021-2022 season and played well. But he was even better on Tuesday. He dropped a career-high 12 assists against the Rockets yesterday. Monk had only 2 previous double-digit assist games in his career, which both came last season when he got exactly 10. If Monk can tap into his playmaking potential as a starter, his fantasy value will grow immensely. Averaging 9 assists per game over his last 4 games, his career high for a season was 5.1 assists per game, which happened last season, and he had never averaged more than 4 assists per game in a single season before that. Malik Monk, a career high 12 assists as a starting shooting guard. What was that?
Love it. I had an article come out today about some buy low and sell high guys and hold guys, and Monk is someone that I'm buying. I love this new role for him. He's playing a lot. He's going to put up some great numbers. Good pick, Kirien, for your What Was That stat line of the week. Now, Kirien went positive. Can't have 2 positives. We got to go negative here. Now, since the last time we spoke to you last Wednesday, the Los Angeles Lakers have played 4 games. LeBron James went 0 for 19 from 3-pointers across those 4 games. A bagel, a goose egg for the King, 0 for 19. The Lakers have scored 105 points or fewer in 3 of those games. LeBron shot 41% from 3 last season. So 0 for 19 for 3. What was that? He never had more than 2 straight games without at least 1 3-pointer last season. He never went more than 3 straight games without making one. The last time he did that was the 2017-18 season. LeBron James, 0 for 19 from the field, from the 3-point line over his last 4 games. What was that? Is this LeBron James or Bronny James? I had to double check to make sure I got the right stat line here, but it can't be Bronny James because he's down in the G League. LeBron James, ooh.
Freaky Friday situation going on. Bronny James is now in Dad's body.
Did the Monstars do something here? I mean, what happened? 0 for 19 for LeBron James. I mean, he shot 40. They were talking about maybe LeBron, his goal here to play all 82 games.
Yeah.
Maybe he needs a little bit of a rest. 0 for 19 from 3 over 4 games. If that doesn't scream he needs a little bit of a rest. I mean, the guy is 40 years old. I'm 40, Kirien. It's not. I don't know how he does it. If I step the wrong way getting out of bed, I'm hurting. LeBron James has been playing every game this season. Give the guy a little bit of a rest, maybe.
This was a great pick. I saw that you threw it on there first. It was going to be my pick. I was watching the Monday game against the T-Wolves, and they kept mentioning it, and they're like, he'll hit one now. And some of the worst clanks I've ever seen LeBron put up happened in that game. You brought up he wanted to play 82 games, and then after that game on Monday, JJ Redick was like, yeah, that's probably not going to happen, especially if this keeps happening. That might be the first little squabble between the new head coach and the King. I'm sure they'll be fine. But I'm an MJ guy. I'm sure you are too. You're a Chicago Bulls fan. Everybody always says like, oh, nobody has put up the numbers that LeBron has. When MJ was 40 and he was playing for the Wizards on that god-awful team, he averaged 20 points per game. He played 80 regular season games and averaged 36 minutes. So maybe there's one last feather in the cap that LeBron is trying to get on Jordan, and that is playing at least 80 games this season. But yeah, totally expecting LeBron to get a night off here to recalibrate that 3-point shot. That stat you said, this is the first time 3 straight games he hasn't made a 3 since 2017. There was a time in his career where this, maybe I shouldn't say normal, but we wouldn't have been super surprised by this. He's really evolved into just a spectacular 3-point shooter. So this has come out of the blue for sure.
I love that Kirien ends the show by turning the screws on everybody that thinks LeBron is better than Michael Jordan by throwing out Wizards per game minutes stats. Oh, Kirien. What a great way to end the show. And with that, we want to thank everyone for listening to the Wednesday version of the RotoWire Fantasy Basketball Podcast brought to you by DraftKings Pick6. We look forward to coming to you again next Wednesday to give you all the information that you need to win your fantasy basketball leagues. And until then, good luck, everyone, and let's bring home some W's.
Talk to you later.